Welcome, very nice to have you with us this Friday morning, and the 200 having a nice run up the leaderboard there. It was approaching a 1% positive mark, just pulling back ever so slightly, up still though above 0.9%. The NZX 50 up just shy of 0.5% across the Tasman at 31.05. Benchmark in Japan, for what it's worth, is up about 0.3%. What a great night for precious metals. Now gold just taking a little bit of a breather from a spike of almost $20 an ounce, and copper ran up well on the London Metal Exchange. There was a rally throughout the base metal complex, no less. Gold, of course, on a tear in the last few sessions. Investors have been piling into the commodity. To find out more, I'm joined by Nick Sheard, chairman of Carpentaria Exploration. This company focuses on discovering and mining base metals, gold and other commodities in Queensland and New South Wales. A warm welcome to you.
Thanks.
Tell me about the whole process, because you came onto the boards in November 07. Shares have been ticking along reasonably all right, but you've had an announcement of late, and you would have thought that might have been the catalyst to move higher. It hasn't really happened.
It hasn't happened yet, but the announcement was quite exciting that we've discovered magnetite iron in New South Wales, western New South Wales, about 60 km south of Broken Hill. My guess is that the investing community don't realise how close it is to infrastructure, how close it is to Broken Hill, which has got a workforce, got a mining culture. We're close to the East-West Railway line, so an iron ore discovery there that could be brought into a mine could add huge value to the western part of the state and to our company, of course.
People would be keen to know, we use the language of exploration versus resource.
Yes. Can
you tell me what that amounts to, the next step in the chain, and why that might give you a little bit more credibility with the market?
Yes, the exploration discovery stage is basically a few holes or samples that give you a very good indication that you may have a reasonable amount of mineralisation. Drilling obviously is the key to that. If you've got a number of holes into a mineralised system, then you have a reasonable idea that you may have a bigger one, given various parameters like geophysics, which can tell you that along strike from those holes, the mineralisation may be constant. So the next step then is to do more drilling along the strike of the mineralisation, and you drill far enough apart so that you can make a reasonable estimate that mineralisation will continue between the holes. Once you've got a number of holes like that, you can put a resource out, and that resource is generally what they call inferred category at the start, which basically means there's a reasonable chance of mining it at some point in the future.
You kind of used reasonable in there twice, Nick. It's kind of still on the fence, isn't it? When does it become unequivocal?
It becomes unequivocal, in theory, once you drill a lot more holes and have a bankable feasibility study.
All right, so a resource is kind of step 2 along the credibility chain, right. Then a feasibility study, and then the market kind of gets, the heebie-jeebies. That's
right. Once you get to the bankable feasibility study, you've virtually taken a bit of the blue sky out of it, because right. You've got your resource, you've got your ability to mine, and so the froth's gone out a fair bit at that stage.
Who's paying for all of this? The drilling ain't expensive by anyone's measure.
No.
You can't exist on fresh air. So who are your investors?
What we've done is that we floated our company back November 2007. We raised $7.5 million then. We've been very careful with the way we've done our exploration and the way we manage our office, etc. So we've still got $3 million in the bank. When the global financial crisis hit, we took the decision at the board level that we're going to continue exploring. If we stop, I think most investors would have been really upset with us. So we continued exploring, and that's actually given us this success. So we're very pleased. We've still got money in the bank, and we can still explore, but obviously now with some success behind us, we would like to get some investment in the company to take us to the next stage.
Because the next stage is really the production. Now, your company's name, Carpentaria Exploration, is that something that may have to be tweaked in time? Because, that it implies you're a pure exploration play, and you're wanting to go a little further than that.
I'm really looking forward to the day when it's Carpentaria Exploration and mining.
Right. Well, tell me about the Chinese and the interest there, because we know they're circling with great interest. What have the overtures been like?
We've had a considerable number of Chinese groups and other Asian groups, and in fact Indian groups, through looking at our projects. They've been very interested in the coal project up in the Galilee, where, as you know, there's a significant number of resources, and we've got a big exploration play up there, which is a grassroots play. What we've found to date is that initially they are very interested in producing or near production, so the exploration ground isn't quite as appealing to them at the moment. But in fact that's turning around, because there are now people, we are in fact talking to at least one Asian group regarding that property. So they're interested in starting to come back into exploration.
Because in the sense, the clock is ticking for you, isn't it? You say you've got 3 million left in the kitty. Now you need to kind of get some breakthrough on that. Is there going to be a resource that you need to cement and play to really get them over the line, potentially?
I think so, and that's going to probably be the iron play in Broken Hill, because that's the one that with limited investment we can bring to resource stage very rapidly.
Now, how do you go head to head with someone like a BHP or a Rio when we talk about iron? Are you talking more for domestic usage here that you want to target? When you said infrastructure before, it's more for local consumption?
We're actually really expecting to export, because we'll be producing a magnetite product, which is high-grade iron with very low impurities, and the aim with that is to export it, because most of that is used in blast furnaces overseas, so you'd go to China or India. And the aim there, our aim would be to get an investor who already has or is building furnaces overseas that requires feed for 20 years, because that's the sort of time frame we're looking at.
How difficult is it to prioritise these projects? You've got gold exploration, you've got copper, you've got the coal, as you mentioned, you've got the iron ore. It's quite a load to balance. How do you decide which comes first?
It's quite difficult. We try not to be influenced by today's prices, etc., but we're generally influenced by what the mineralized system tells us first. It's the geology that gives us the priority. We follow the geology, and then if we do get a discovery, or when we get discovery, then we have to prioritize projects. So it's quite and that's one of the difficult things in exploration, that you've got to really take an economic approach to your work. Do the drilling. If you don't get anything, throw it away.
With prices where they're running at the moment, what are you most optimistic about in this sector, price action-wise?
I see gold as, in our portfolio, gold as the winner in the price rise, but I see the stability in things like iron. So if we could get an investor in our iron, for example, and we can hold a significant percentage, it would be great for our investors in the longer term, because we'd have a huge income. But gold is the one that we would probably be able to bring on stream in a couple of years if we found something. So we're balancing those two acts.
And you're kind of, on that basis, what about monitoring those operations? Because you're looking for gold in Queensland, or as much as in New South Wales. So which is firing? Which shows the most promise?
I've got to be careful. We're in New South Wales, so I'm going to say the New South Wales ones are.
You don't have to. There'll be no love lost. I mean, investors would want to know just more fair and square, which is really going to fire.
We're currently doing a survey in our project in Queensland, which is going to give us some results as to the quality and the priority of that project. We believe that the New South Wales one, though, in all honesty, is probably the one that's going to give us the more pure gold show. We've got projects there which have been mined in the past, so we think that's a high priority.
Really briefly, Nick, if the 3 mil starts to really peter out, are the banks going to come to the party if investors don't? What is the climate like for lending from where you sit?
We haven't had to go that route yet, sorry, so I can't really answer that question. We haven't had to go down that route.
All right.
So,
well, we'll leave it there, but we wish you all the best.
Thanks, mate.
Right. Many thanks. Nick Sheard, of course, Chairman of Carpentaria Exploration, Executive Chairman no less. We will take a short break. Let's see what the weather's doing in your part of the country.